Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is 1 of 1, but you can call me 7. And we have been grinding this game recently, because I love reading. I love reading visual novels, what can I say? Oh god, crap. Oh man, it's just, I'm pretty excited to see where this goes next. I've been excited for the past couple of episodes because the story has just been getting, has been escalating more and more, and now we're at a pretty climactic point at this part of the story, I think. So we just need to see how Alice and Shizuki are going to survive this onslaught from Alice, this fairy tale amusement park onslaught from Alice. So let's see how they do. Right, so they're running. Aoko and Sojiro ran down the bumpy brick road. Their bond, forged in the heat of battle, went far beyond mutual convenience. They headed for the park's exit at full speed without exchanging a word or look. The weirdness only extended as far as the park border, so they would be safe as long as they made it outside. But, speaking in pure numbers, the difference in strength was 2 versus an army. Or rather, 1 versus an army. Sojiro was hardly useful in this situation, and manpower wasn't really the issue here since they were facing puppets. You okay? Those are some giant pincers back there! Aoko shouted as she blasted away the monsters that stood in their path. There was no time to stop for breath or even to look back. Yeah, just barely. Oh, dude, giri, just barely. As Sojiro pursued, his voice too had naturally become shrill. 5 minutes earlier, they had broken out of the siege at the plaza surprisingly fast. It seemed that the Resident's awakening differed case by case, with larger creatures taking additional time. Oh, is that bread? I don't even know what that is. That was her, seeing her PNG slide into frame was really, really funny. We're lucky they're not the morning type, Aoko joked as she mowed down the small fry that popped up. But then, without warning, something outrageous extended its way down from above them. It was the claws of the 60-foot lobster adorning the roof of a seafood restaurant. Oh god, its pincers were like a guillotine. As Aoko and Sojiro cut across the front of the restaurant, the Red King pressed in at tremendous speed, keen on splitting them each in two. Boom, boom. Oh my god. The hard about, this way's no good. The gate was just on the other side of the restaurant, but they had to take the long way around in order to lose the giant lobster snapping at their heels. Waiting along their detour had been a horde of monsters, too many to count. Yeah, there we go. We're back in the present. Sojiro called out in response, recalling just how narrowly he had avoided his head being severed clean from his body. In front of us. What the heck are those? Are they freshly baked? It looks like it. In other words, they're the cannon fodder. Aoko halted her sprint and set her crest into full operation. Range 7, 6, 5 yards. At this distance, Snap will take them down. Boom! Sliding along the brick path, she brandished her right arm. She loosed a shower of magic bullets. Snap was a single action spell that favored rate of fire over power, and it mowed down the monsters with satisfying pops. More over there! Oh, they're like, he's trying to help her cover that. Yeah. She's got a lot of magic, guys. She's got a machine gun. Holy hell. There we go. Blue explosions bloomed along the lamp-lit promenade. Aoko's curtain of fire fanned out. It was a marvelous Starmie and fireworks show. The toy bread men turned to charcoal. We can do this. They've got us overpowered in numbers, but at this rate, we'll be able to get out of here. How's it looking over there? Looks clear to me. We should be able to approach the exit from the east. With a magical barrage that would leave an average spellcaster blue in the face, the novice mage broke through the siege. Meanwhile, a single bird keenly watched everything unfold. Uh-oh, that sounds really not good. In fact, some would go so far as to say that that sounds bad, which is something that I've said at multiple points in this visual novel. Chirp, cheep, 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 chirp. The moment the bluebird descended into its master's field of vision, it made its high-pitched call. The girl listened expressionlessly to the report. No matter, everything is going as expected. Even if she only knows how to shoot and destroy, the way Aoko uses magical energy is extraordinary. Hastily formed familiars are no match for her. The robin flapped its wings as it tweeted in response. Perhaps it was criticizing Alice for complimenting Aoko, or perhaps it was jealous of Aoko for being praised by Alice. Alice could barely make sense of its chirping rant. Aoko Ozaki was a novice mage. Until just 2 years ago, she had grown up with no background in magecraft. Compared to Alice, who was raised as a witch from birth, Aoko possessed far less talent and experience. There was simply no comparison to be made. In a contest of skills in magecraft, 10 times out of 10, Alice would be declared the victor. However, that narrative changed when it came to a battle for life or death. Alice Kuonji was not the type of mage suited to combat, while Aoko Ozaki, on the other hand, was built for it. In a contest that pitted magical energy against magical energy, even Alice would concede that Aoko had the upper hand. Aoko's manipulation of magical energy was extraordinary. The scale of her magic circuits was smaller than that of Alice, but their rotational speed, durability, and output quality, not to mention efficiency, were otherworldly. That was Aoko Aozaki's hallmark. Though she had many failings when handling sophisticated formulae, in just 2 years of practice, Aoko had surpassed Alice in simple formulae that merely required an energy input. She also had a genius's instincts and adaptability. Though Aoko was not particularly proficient at executing magecraft, she was terrifyingly fast. If she had been born outside the Aozaki clan, she would have doubtless risen to fame as a competitive sharpshooter. What a pity. In a straight shootout, Alice did not stand a chance. I love this dynamic. Oh, it's so good because it's like, you know, the subjectivity of what makes a mage a phenomenal or talented mage, and what it means to be able to fight versus, you know, actually just execute magecrafts for whatever purpose you decide to use it for, having your strengths and weaknesses and being able to exploit those or pit those against somebody else's, and just knowing what the outcome is going to be, just simply based off of what you know about the person, and especially like, you know, what you've heard or having worked with them before or seen them in action. I just think that's really fun. Alice Kuonji had never bothered to learn primitive magecraft like magic bullets in the first place. She was the classic puppeteer. Her familiars served as her arms and legs to carry out all the particulars of a battle. Oh, so if you're getting close, okay, I see. I'm happy to lend you all the ammunition you like, but after an hour, those bullets will be worthless. Chirping as if in agreement, the robin took flight. It had been nearly 10 minutes since Alice had made the amusement park into her dominion. To what would the green fog give birth next? Aoko and Sojiro, still running about, would soon come to understand the gravity of their situation. I'm delighted. I can only say that I am enthralled by this. Very fun. Is this the way out? The exit, just at the front of that store. Running non-stop at full speed had them at their limits. Their breath ragged, the duo rounded a corner at a breakneck pace. Amusement park though it was, this was still the infamous Kitsy Land. It would have taken a high school student 20 minutes to sprint the entire circumference of the park. And though they were now intimately familiar with the park's geography, yeah, a bunch of things trying to kill them, it was changing beyond recognition. The transformation was not limited to the park's residents either. Yeah, what? I hate to ask, but is it just me, or is the park getting bigger? It was. Their problem wasn't as mundane as mistaking the location of the exits, nor the strange terrain. No, the park was warping and twisting in upon itself. Even as they ran, its structure was expanding and growing, like that of a living creature. Soon, the pair noticed that the mob encircling them had grown even stronger. Entrusting her back to Sojiro, Aoko summoned all of her effort just to keep from whining. No one would blame Sojiro for cowering in shock, but for Aoko to do the same, she bore responsibility for causing and then dragging him into this mess. She could not afford to succumb to panic. Pull yourself together, Aoko. The park has to end somewhere. It may be far, but the fence is right there. Even Flat Snark has limits. Getting to the exit is the right choice, I think. But from here, it looks the better part of a mile away. Up until now, they'd been too concerned with simply running. Their breathing had become labored. If they had to run another mile without rest, they'd end up collapsing along the way. Aozaki, how are you holding up? Physically, I mean. What? The whisper from behind pulled Aoko back to reality. I'm fine, but I need to catch my breath. Good idea. We'll never make it outside if we don't rest. You know, I never would have thought you'd be okay with making a run for it. She let slip a giggle. Far from debilitated by panic, her comrade-in-arms had been analyzing the situation and forming an escape plan. Why don't we hole up in one of those buildings for a while? I don't like it, but it's our best option right now. The breadmen had them completely surrounded. Perhaps this might have been a problem for an average person, but for Aoko, breaking through their formation to get to the building would be a cinch. The issue was which store to pick. She considered the characteristics of the transforming park. What would pose a danger and what was safe. The most important factor was not the strength or the complexity of the building. Keep it simple, stupid. Boom! This way. After routing the monsters, Aoko hopped behind the counter, soon followed by Sojiro. Get behind the counter. Like she was in a Western shootout, Aoko squared off against the monsters using the counter as cover. Oh, this is sick! This is so cool! Oh my god, it reminds me of Levi in Attack on Titan, Season 3, I think? Bingo, nothing here can get snarkified. After assessing the current state of the enemy, Aoko sat down under the counter. Oh, look at them! Look at them. What are they doing? I love them. I love them. They're stamping their feet in frustration because they're angry that they can't get in. Huh? Aoko gave the perplexed Sojiro a grin and took a moment to catch her breath. She heaved a heavy sigh of relief and fatigue. We'll take 5 here. This restaurant is the blandest place in the park, which makes it their Achilles heel. Oh! It's just all normal stuff. It's too civilized for Snark to mess with. No mascot characters or anything. Snark? That's their name, though Alice is the one who came up with it, I think. It doesn't really sound like her, but whatever. That's what they're called. Perhaps now at ease from knowing they were safe, Sojiro seemed enthralled in her explanation. Aoko could not help but chuckle as Sojiro nodded sagely. It was certain that he had no idea what she was talking about. Normally this would have irritated her, but this time she was grateful for the warmth of his strange sobriety. Only this guy. Only this guy. Only him. It's good that you seem better, Aozaki. Mistaking her smile for composure, Sojiro broke into a smile himself. It was just a— oh, what did that say? It was just another link in a chain of misunderstandings, but there was no need to redress it. Oh, you can tell? Yeah, my magic bullets are getting more powerful. Well, you did chase me all around that house of mirrors while firing those things at me, so I guess I've become really familiar with them, for better or worse. Are you sure you're okay, though? I remember you mentioning that you had a limited number of shots, but you fired at least 20 or 30 so far, right? You know, every now and then you— Her opinion of him improved. Just a little bit. Never mind. My bullets increased in power as a simple matter of the density of their magical energy. You've seen that fog around the park from a bit ago, right? It's all just magical energy. Think of it as fuel for my bullets. Magical energy was divided into 2 broad categories. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. First was OD, produced inside a mage's body. Second was mana, which filled the atmosphere. At the moment, the amusement park had turned into a fairy tale land, overflowing with mana, although it meant nothing to the average person. To a mage, it was a paradise where spells could be cast as much as one pleased. Okay, that answers one of my questions. How much magic you have left? All we need to worry about are injuries and stamina? Well, as far as our own lives are concerned, yeah. Sojiro breathed a sigh of relief. From Sojiro's perspective, more so than the monsters she mowed down, Aoko was the biggest bully on the playground. He had been concerned about what would happen should her magical energy be exhausted, but luckily for him, she was far from surrendering her crown. It's nice that you trust me and all, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Those minions out there are just walking garbage. If Alice summons any other fairy tale monsters, let alone the actual Snark making an appearance, there's nothing I'll be able to do. Other fairy tale monsters? You mean there are others apart from the thing that changed the park? Yes, they're called ploy kickshaws. Aberrations that even we mages can't stand to look at. Their nonsense lost at time used to revive impossible fantasies. Sojiro's expression seemed to be calling her out on the hypocrisy. Hey, most of us have modern standards, you know. Obviously, there are things we can't do, and we're no match for modern weapons. The 20th century, well, a bunch of wars helped weapons technology catch up to us. But that girl is a different beast altogether. Mankind's evolution can't hold a flame to her power. Take those breadmen, for instance. Something like a machine gun would have no effect on them, probably because guns make no sense to them. Aoko casually gestured outside past the counter. Alice's familiars are mystics needed from fantasies. They're all impossible in the first place. So they don't play nice with the laws of physics. That shouldn't come as a surprise since fantasy and reality can't exist together. I see. So they're literally walking loaves of bread. Sojiro seemed to have ignored the majority of Ako's explanation and only reacted to the part that caught his curiosity. To get back on topic, modern arms don't stand a chance against those things. Even rockets would be useless. They aren't part of the same order or shared consciousness as us. To the ploy kickshaws, to the fairy tale monsters, anything that doesn't exist in their world, anything that they don't understand, disintegrates before it can even touch them. Okay, interesting, sorry. Only something equally nonsense can touch them, like magical energy infused with the same level of mystics. They exist wholly in their own conceptual space or cosmos. In short, they're protected by a special rule known as folklore defense, meaning that neither pure force nor strong magecraft have much effect. They can't be taken down without exploiting the weaknesses found in their original stories. Are you familiar with the Greek myth of Achilles? It's a good, straightforward example. Sojiro shook his head. Of course you are. If you get out of this alive, have Tobimata tell you about it. It's a cliche, but it's a good story. Sojiro was feeling pretty lost, but he did his best to grasp the situation. He thought that ploy kickshaws were scary enough to chase Aoko and that puppet from before out of the house barefoot. Certainly, the scene before them was the stuff of nightmares, but Sojiro had a different way of thinking of things. I think you're more scared than me, Aozaki. Do you want to die? Sojiro waved in protest. No, man. Silently pointing out that she had made his case for him. Or for him. Listen to me. The things surrounding us now are a little more than fodder. As far as Alice is concerned, the breadmen, the lobster, the meat mincer at the sausage place, they're all worth even less than my magic bullets are to me. Got it? The moving mascots and all the rest are a sideshow. They're nothing more than the breath of the monsters she unleashed. These things are just the breath? Yeah, crazy, I know. But that's what we're dealing with right now. Just one of those fairy tale monsters is enough to keep us busy. So if Alice decides to add another, we might as well give up. Add another? Isn't there some sort of limit? If she decides not to be stingy, she has a few more up her sleeve. Although, well, there are conditions to bring them out. Like one monster that won't wake up if there's no river nearby. The park has fountains, sure, but no river, right? Her familiars are bound by their underlying stories. By fairy tale, you mean like the one about a bowl of soba noodles? Let me tell you, it's a small mercy there's no river here. Otherwise, something way better at squishing us would have appeared by now. I'll continue, completely ignoring Sojiro. Anyway, as I was saying, the foundation of Alice's magecraft is Mother Goose. Right, you wouldn't know that either. Mother Goose was an author of whimsical English nursery rhymes. To be honest, this type of ploy kickshaw isn't all that scary. Taking them down with some form of magecraft is totally possible. I'm afraid to ask, but what about the scary kind then? They follow another fairy tale inspired by Mother Goose. Alice's mother was particularly fond of it, and every single one is bizarre. No mage wants to go up against one of those things. As it happens, that's exactly what brought the park back to life. I'm pretty sure it's the one she calls Flatsnark, though I wasn't particularly paying attention, so I'm a little hazy on the details. Sojiro swallowed the discomfort making its way up its throat. He really wanted her to explain things a little less vaguely, but something she had just said had necessitated further investigation. Wait a second, Ozaki. You mean to tell me you weren't paying attention? Look at them. I love them. Well, you know, it was a while back that she explained it all to me, and I didn't really believe anything she had to say around then. I thought that maybe she was talking up her own magecraft to a newbie, or that she wasn't taking me seriously. In truth, if anyone hadn't taken the lesson seriously, it was Aoko. She would learn that lesson firsthand soon enough when she experienced just how real Alice's monsters were. She'd also discover how heretical the Minster witches truly were in the world of magecraft. Can you remember anything else about them? From what I understand, it's a ploy that puts up a powerful bounded field. Alice inherited a lot of ploys, but this is one of her finest. It takes discarded and forgotten things and resurrects them like what happens in fairy tales. Supposedly, nobody's ever defeated it. Oh, and its nickname is the Untouchable. So it's not Flatsnark or whatever it was? That's just a nickname too, since nobody knows what its real form is. It picked up a few names along the way. One of them is Flatsnark, and it ranks high among her other nonsense in terms of how little is known about it. Have you heard of the book The Hunting of the Snark by Lewis Carroll? No, and who is Lewis Carroll? Okay then, let's start from the beginning. Professor Dodgson was... He was a delusional gentleman with a peculiar disposition. Not that it matters right now, it's a waste of time to explain to some people. What's important is the work he left behind. The Hunting of the Snark is a book about a band of adventurers who try to capture an unidentified monster known as the Snark. It's very Carol, satirical, nonsensical, and cryptic. It doesn't even really have an ending either, though the party does ultimately find the Snark on its island after much hardship. It ends with the protagonist who found it, the baker, suddenly disappearing. It's a satire about people who run about busily trying to find something they don't understand. But when it comes to the park here, it's pretty clear who the baker is and who the Snark is, right? Aoko elected not to share this, but Flatsnark had other popular names as well. The Enigmatic Island, the Five-Dimensional Plane. These names were not given to it by Alice, but rather muttered by mages whom the Minsters defeated. In mathematics, Snark is a term used in graph theory to refer to contradictory and impossible planar graphs. A plane, proven to be unable to exist in this world, was given the name, apt for an ill-fated existence, paradoxical in nature. The fairy tale monster ascribed this name was said to hold no form discoverable by man. Aoko also declined to mention something else. Flatsnark was a fairy tale monster that could grow. It would hide somewhere in the amusement park, continuously exhaling magical energy until the park completely transformed into a fantasy land. Well, it's not like there's any point in scaring him. Did you say something else, Aki? Nope. I was just thinking. Flatsnark's power is its ability to bring fairy tale worlds to life. When you think about it, the park makes for the perfect backdrop. I mean, it was originally a playground based on fairy tales anyway. If this had been a business district, for example, Flatsnark would have posed far less of a threat. At most, its power would be limited to projecting the shadow of a dinosaur onto a building's window panes. Ah, so that's why it's it, Sojiro realized that something was wrong when he noticed a glutinous liquid dripping onto his back. He looked up to the ceiling. Their eyes met. Before he had a chance to think, Sojiro hopped up from the floor. Get out now. Taking the initiative, he jumped out from behind the counter. Are you mad? What do you think you're trying to stop him from committing an act of suicide? She also came to her feet. Immediately, she noticed something coming to life overhead. Nice. Oh, crap. Oh, my goodness. Hello. Hi, cutie. Oh, that's bad. Did it collapse on them? Oh my god, that was close. The gargantuan mouth clamped shut. With no mascot to speak of, the burger joint itself began to transform into one giant monster. Monster House, baby. Who the hell paints a giant clown on the ceiling? Shouldn't they have flexed the creative muscle somehow else? If they like clowns that much, why did they put it at the entrance? Alko aired out her grievances as she ran. There was no safe haven left. Moment by moment, the last remnants of civilization were being eroded away by fairy tales. This is... Oh, we've got a lot of good context now. This is good. I like this a lot. Let me know if you guys have any thoughts, or like, you know what's going on, or like, you know, I mean, obviously don't spoil anything, but like, if you've heard what I've said, and like, you're like, oh, like Seven gets it, or you're like, there's something that I'm missing, or something like that. I don't know, I just want to know. I want to know how this is gonna play out. This is so cool. This is so cool. The amusement park had reached the final stage of snarkification. It was not just the mascot characters that had been granted life, like the burger joint. Even the buildings had begun to transform. The roller coaster that made its way about the park writhed and twisted like a Chinese dragon. Yeah, this is bad. Grown to over 250 feet in height, the Ferris wheel. Hordes of breadmen closed in on them as if to offer tickets. The line is under control. Jeez, mobs of trinkets, actual kickshaws rampage the park. Whenever a hole was punched in the envelopment, it was instantly filled. It was a battle of attrition, with no end in sight. But that was a matter of course, as there were few fairy tales about limited resources. This is hopeless. They just keep coming. Look for the Snark's real form. A fairy tale monster always has some vessel for its body. If we can just destroy that, we should be able to get out of here. Mowing them down. A body? What kind of body? I already told you, fairy tale monsters can't exist in reality. Anything weird or impossible you've never seen before. That's going to be it. Something weird or impossible? I need an example. Do I have to spell it out for you? Living puppets, flying go-karts. Alko paused her firing for a moment. After saying this out loud, she realized just how deep their grave was dug. The amusement park was a treasure trove of fairy tale-esque creatures on any given day. Who could say what was impossible amidst the newly transfigured knickknacks running around? Yeah, everything in here is weird. So it's hiding in plain sight. Hoping that she was wrong, Alko bit her bottom lip. Flat Snark was the type of ploy that deployed bounded fields. Seeing as it was commanding so many familiars, it would not be unusual for its main body to have little or even no defenses. Furthermore, if it was modeled from a story about it being untouchable and unidentifiable, it would be logical to assume that it would collapse in on itself shortly after being discovered. Which means if we find it, we win. Would something so fragile really hide among its minions? They do say that the best place to hide a leaf is in the woods. This was closer to the truth than Alko realized. As long as there was the slightest possibility of it being hit by one of Alko's stray bullets, it would not dare appear in front of them. Its true form was orchestrating the park from somewhere safe. I'm sure we've seen it already. It's the subject of a book named after it. If it's not standing out on every page, it has no right to be the title character. But where? Put very simply, the Ferris wheel was the safest location in the park, as well as a symbol of its past glory. Perhaps. What if we just try to catch her instead? Her eyes opened wide at the sudden suggestion. While Alko had been trying to come up with a plan to overcome the stalemate, it seemed Sojiro had been racking his brain as well. His proposal was a simple one. If they could not find the Snark, they just needed to take out its master, Alice. Alice had not moved at all from the clock tower. Even from here, they could make out her figure, draped in moonlight. That's the worst move we could make. Even if we killed her, it wouldn't stop the Snark, and all this absurdity would just boil over to outside the park. Not to mention, I can't even kill her in the first place. At best, I can only get halfway there. A breadman, angered at the insult hurled towards its master, moved to attack and was mercilessly burned to a crisp. The two stood back to back, catching their breath. With no plan to speak of and no route of escape, they had reached rock bottom. Meanwhile, the oddities were forming a circle around their prey as if they smelled blood in the water. Were they to be dragged into a bakery for the oven, minced in the meat grinder at the butcher shop, skewered and paraded around atop the carousel, walked the plank of the thorny pirate ship? After 2 years of slumber, they were eager to welcome their new guests. There's something I need to ask you, Ozaki. What is it? Keep it snappy, I'm thinking here. Okay. It's painfully clear what these things want to do to us, but what about her? Does she enjoy this? I doubt it. These things' hatred of humans comes from a deep-seated grudge within the park itself. And maybe even Flatsonic's personality too. Alice's familiars are one big family of freaks. Though, now that you mention it, Aoko was unable to deny that there were some similarities. Good to know. So, did you come up with anything, Ozaki? How do we stop them? Sorry to get your hopes up, but I'm all out of ideas. Oh, but I bet they'd stop if you dropped dead. No thank you. Let's just get out of here. Hey, wait, Shizuki! She blinked in surprise at the sudden turn of events. Sojiro, who had until now been meekly following her lead, had grabbed Aoko's hand and pulled her with him into a head-on charge at the swarm of bread in an attempt to break out of the encirclement. Are you out of your mind? How on earth do you figure this is what we do next? Aoko nonetheless followed Sojiro's uncharacteristically gung-ho lead, cursing him all the while. Alone, he had no chance of breaking through the surrounding wall of enemies with brute force. Aoko regained her bearings and let fly a spray of magic bullets ahead of Sojiro. They burst through the net and ran as hard as they could. At this point, all that was left to do was what they had planned from the outset: get out of the park, but not before addressing what needed to be addressed. Where the hell did that come from? Hadn't you already given up back at the House of Mirrors? Aoko could not begin to comprehend Sojiro's reaction. That was then and this is now. Just run. What are you talking about? Alice wants to kill you for exactly the same reasons I did. This won't play out any differently. Though she wondered what was getting her so worked up, Aoko did not stop. She told herself that the degree of Sojiro's stupidity, charging the breadman so recklessly, had caused her to lose her cool. Hey, don't get the wrong idea. I'm gonna try and kill you again tomorrow. I'll really do it. So if you don't want to die, you should be trying to escape me too, got it? Well, let's talk about that tomorrow. I don't really care if you kill me, but just don't want to be killed by that girl. Like I said, why the hell not? I don't even know what she looks like, nor have I ever spoken to her. What? It was like someone had doused water over her blazing fury. Aoko's anger was snuffed out by the absurd simplicity of his reasoning. Because you don't know what she looks like? Could it be that Sojiro did not mind being killed by someone as long as he had met them? Aoko grimaced as she followed him. God. Oh my god. Anyway, I want to keep going, but I don't have time. Guys, that's all the time that I have for today. We're going. It's action-packed. We're having a good time. We're learning a lot. Lots of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not context. I mean, we are getting context. Exposition, yeah. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I definitely did. And I will see you guys in the next video. So for now, have a good rest of your day, and I will see you soon. Bye.